Hello? If you love horror and want more scary stories, click like and subscribe to receive all new. Welcome to the world of horror. In the far north of the country, where the mountains meet the sky, there was a remote village called Norville. This village lived in harmony with nature until one ominous day when an ancient volcano known as the Dark Volcano began to ignite for the first time in centuries. Thunderstorms filled the sky, the wind howled through the trees, and the ground trembled beneath their feet, signaling the approaching disaster. With the first eruption, the volcano unleashed a massive cloud of black ash that spread in all directions, turning the sky into a grim, dark gray. The cloud advanced toward the village at a terrifying speed, while Norville's residents scrambled to gather their belongings in panic and fear. But it was too late. A few of the villagers inhaled the ash, and their bodies slowly transformed into crawling creatures, their eyes gleaming with a dark emptiness, their faces devoid of life. Soon, the transformation wave spread, as the newly turned zombies began devouring anyone in their path, and the air was filled with screams and wails that echoed painfully. While some villagers screamed in the streets, Elaine and her friend Marcus watched from the tightly sealed windows of their house. They decided to barricade the windows and doors with cloth and cushions to block the ash, but the foul smell of the ash seeped in regardless. On the first night, they heard a faint knocking on the door, sporadic and unnatural. They ignored the sound at first, but the knocking grew more insistent, and the entire house shook when the zombies began clawing at the door and windows with their decayed nails. As they struck the windows, they emitted an inhuman hissing sound, whispering and chilling voices as though something demonic spoke through them. "Open up! We are here!" Elaine felt a shiver deep inside, but she kept her composure as she watched the blood-smeared faces of the zombies trying to break into the house. Their eyes were hollow, streaked with traces of blood, and their mouths were grotesquely open, devouring whatever remained of their fading souls. After 2 days of being trapped inside, Marcus and Elaine, along with their companions Daniel and Laura, decided to venture out to find food, as their supplies were dwindling. When they left, they discovered the town had transformed into a horrifying nightmare. Buildings were burning, and bodies lay scattered everywhere. Some moved slowly, while others were piled on top of each other, making the scene look like a gruesome festival of the dead. On the way, they saw a group of zombies gathered around a corpse, ravenously tearing at its flesh. But suddenly, the empty heads of the zombies turned toward them, attacking in overwhelming numbers at a terrifying speed. The 4 of them ran toward a closed building, but Daniel stumbled and fell, and the zombies swarmed around him. All they could hear were his fading screams. Inside the building, the foul smell of ash filled the air, and they could hear the sound of zombies outside, drawing nearer. Laura trembled in fear, and Elaine tried to comfort her while Marcus kept an eye on the street, searching for an opportunity to escape. But suddenly, they heard heavy footsteps behind them. Zombies were climbing through the building's windows, rushing toward them with their decayed bodies, laden with the stench of death. They decided to flee to the upper floor, where they jumped from a second-story window, sustaining severe injuries. The black ash continued to spread, with every breath bringing death closer. The town became overrun with zombies, and the streets transformed into arenas of horror and blood. The zombies gathered at every open window, scraping their decayed nails against the walls, trying to reach any humans still alive. One night, while Elaine and Marcus were searching for water and food in an old cupboard inside an abandoned house, they felt someone watching them. They could hear demonic whispers echoing everywhere, as if evil spirits haunted the entire town. As they tried to escape, they heard a commotion coming from the lower floor, and suddenly, an army of zombies appeared in front of them, blocking the path with their bodies. Deadly smiles danced on their decaying faces as they advanced toward them with heavy steps. Their faces were rotting, their hands covered in clotted human blood, and as they drew near, they began to emit foul sounds, reaching out with their broken arms. But they managed to escape miraculously. With the increasing numbers of zombies in the town, hope for survival was almost lost. Elaine and Marcus decided they wouldn't give up so easily. They realized that their only chance might be to return to the source of the catastrophe, the volcano. Perhaps there was an explanation or even a way to stop the deadly black ash. They snuck out at night, avoiding the zombies wandering the streets, and took a dark, debris-strewn path. Along the way, they witnessed horrifying scenes. Torn bodies, blood-stained walls, and even some people who had died with expressions of eternal terror frozen on their faces. As they approached the volcano, they felt a strange force pulling them toward the glowing lava. Thick black ash rose in the air, and the atmosphere became saturated with the stench of death and destruction. The cursed whispers grew louder, as if the souls who had turned into zombies were calling them to join. When they reached the edge of the volcano, they realized this was the end of the road. Ash was falling heavily upon them, and death loomed clearly before them. In a moment of despair, Elaine looked at Marcus and whispered, "Maybe this is our fate." As they gazed into the depths swallowed by darkness, Marcus felt something touch his hand. He turned to find a zombie standing behind him, its features distorted as if it were the expression of a cursed ghost. Ash fell in torrents, and the air turned into a thick, dismal fog. With the first ray of dawn, Norville vanished completely. All that remained was the black ash, forever telling the story of a horror that would never be forgotten.